Lewis, it's an amazing journey this season with tons of ups and downs. Saturday night was fantastic. You find yourself one win away from MLS Cup. Can you talk about what this journey has been like for the team and your confidence level going into this game?
Yeah, confidence is massive, obviously. I think winning breeds confidence, and we've obviously stepped up to the challenge in the playoffs. We were written off against Columbus, beat them twice, and then we went to our biggest rivals, or one of our biggest rivals, in their home stadium, and knocked them off as well. So confidence couldn't be higher. Yeah, there's been lots of ups and downs, of course. We didn't end the regular season how we wanted to, but I think we've embraced the fact that this is a new competition and the group's galvanised, and it looks like we've got a second wind right at the very right time.
Next we go to Christian Arnold.
When you look at the way the season ended and how the team's kind of turned around in the postseason, is there anything you can kind of put your thumb on and say, this has been the difference for us, the way we played then and how we're playing right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to know exactly what it is. I think the thing that I feel helped us a lot was the group was really humble, and we had a lot of humility going into that Columbus game, and we knew where we were at. We knew that they'd performed substantially better than us in the regular season, and I think we went into those games in that series with our attitude absolutely spot on. We knew that we were going to need to play above our level, and we knew that we were going to need to ride our luck, and Carlos and the back line stood up when they needed to, and like I said, winning breeds confidence. We took down potentially the best team in the league over 2 games, and once you do that, you think you can beat anyone. I remember before the playoffs started saying that if I could pick a team to play over 3, it would be Columbus, not because necessarily that's the team you want to play, but you beat them and then all of a sudden you're on top of the world. You were going to need to beat them at some point, so to do it how we done it, I think that's really given us the energy and the right mentality, and then obviously we took that into NYC, and that's what we're looking to do this weekend as well at Orlando.
Thanks, Anthony.
Lewis, there's been a lot of people who were detractors of the team, very dismissal of you guys going into the playoffs. After this game against NYCFC, there was a lot of emotion from you guys, really kind of like, shove it in their face kind of thing. Can you explain kind of what that vibe was like in the locker room when you guys heard a lot of that stuff that you guys, weren't going to make it this far?
I mean, that's football, I've dealt with that my whole career, personally, and then as a team, everyone's entitled to their opinion. There's people out there, and for all the big corporations and big productions, and they're paid to voice their opinion. So if that's what their opinion was of us, then they're entitled to that. I'm not here to try to prove people wrong and trying to shove it in their face. I'm trying to win so we can celebrate how we did after the game, and I'm just focused on what the feeling is within our changing room. Like I say, everyone's entitled to their opinion. If they wanted to write us off, then yes, of course it's nice to be proving them wrong, but that's not the main driving force, I don't think, for the group, and I think we're just enjoying proving ourselves right more than anything.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
Lewis, you had a phenomenal year. I mean, you came the first 4 or 5 games, you were amazing. Then you got called up to the Euros, comeback player of the year. If this ended right now for you, what would keep you motivated for next year and the year after? What?
Yeah, in terms of motivation, I don't think I personally don't think I've really hit this heights that I want to do. I think the start of the season was flying. You get that bounce from missing a whole year worth of injury, but I don't think my body's felt 100% or even really close to 100% this whole year. So I'm just focusing on the next 2 games, this one at the weekend and then hopefully the MLS Cup final as well. And then I think next year is when we're really going to see the best version of myself, when I have an off season to properly rehab and strengthen my hip. I think it's been a long year for me. The Euros took a lot out of me, in a good way, of course, getting back with the national team, but I think towards the end of the year it's a little bit more difficult to get through the training sessions and the games, and I'm looking forward to the off season to come back a better version of myself next year. But of course I'm loving every minute on the pitch right now, and you're seeing loads of guys now. At the start of the year I was the main goal scorer, and I always want to be the main goal scorer, but it's good to see, of course, Dante's helping, and he's been on fire recently, and we've got Emil back in the team, so the goals are getting spread out.
Next, go to Christian Arnold.
You mentioned Dante. I was curious because it almost seems like this season has kind of mirrored the up and down nature of the team overall. And I'm curious what you've seen in the way he's played in the postseason and why he's really seemed to find another gear the last couple games.
For me, I think Dante's performances from being on the pitch and a teammate haven't changed, honestly. The difference is the ball's going in the back of the net, and that's just the life of a striker. I've been there, and on the contrary, I've not been scoring as much of late, and that's just what happens. I love playing with Dante. I think me and him have a really good connection, and earlier on in the year, I think he was creating a lot of goals, a lot of chances for me, and maybe now it's vice versa, and I'm trying to repay the favour for him. But yeah, it's good to see your strike partner scoring and building confidence obviously at the right time for us at the business end of the season. So for me, the performances were always there. It was just sometimes the ball goes in and sometimes it doesn't, and he's made sure that he was always putting himself in those positions, and we're reaping the rewards of it now.
Next go to George.
How do you guys come off of such a great high, winning the biggest derby in probably both of the club's history, to making sure the shoe doesn't fall off the other end, going up against a team like Orlando on the road, especially with all the success that you guys have had?
Yeah, you see it time and time again. I think where, especially when there's a rivalry game, when you win those like early on in the competition, and you've seen, like I say, time and time again, where that's almost like a team's final, and they've won that, and like everything else is a bonus. But we can't think like that at all. That game's done. For me, the biggest game now is against Orlando at the weekend, and I'm going to be treating that the exact same way, and I'm sure the guys are as well. We need to make sure that we've not won anything yet. We've still got a lot of stuff to do on the field, and just trying to not build that up to be anything bigger than what it was in our head. It was obviously a massive win for us, and once the season's over and maybe when our careers are over, we can look back and say that was the biggest derby win that there's been so far. But for us, we've got another derby coming up at the weekend. That's what our mindset's got to be.
Everyone, we have time for 2 more questions. Lewis, first go to Christian Ortiz on Zoom, and then we'll finish up with Gary. Christian, you have the floor.
Hi, good afternoon, Louis. Best of luck on Saturday. I wanted to ask you about the coaching staff. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the effort, the hard work that they've done so far, especially in these playoff series. What goes into the planning to prepare you for such big games like the one you have on Saturday?
Yeah, the coaching staff have been brilliant. I think we've set up very well against Columbus and New York so far in terms of the tactical plan, and the biggest testament I can give them is that every single player knows exactly what is expected of them and what they need to do when they go on the pitch. I think there's not really any doubts in our mind about what's expected of us, and I think we're really, really well drilled at the moment, and obviously that comes down to the coaching staff and their preparation, and all the players are bought in. Of course, when you start the playoffs like we did against a really good opponent and getting the wins and the performances, that builds that confidence in the system and the tactical stuff that the coaches are doing.
And we'll finish up with Gary.
Hey, Lewis, how you doing? You haven't scored any goals yet in this playoff run, and you talked about Dante getting his goals and getting his confidence, growing throughout the entire game. Do you feel that just because you haven't contributed in that particular area, but overall, as long as the team gets moving on to the next round, they're satisfied with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied. If we win, I'm happy, you know what I mean? But on an individual basis, I still put that pressure on myself to be our goal scorer. I think when I've been fit, obviously last year was unfortunate, but I feel like I've always been one of our biggest goal threats, and I feel the exact same now. I'm expecting myself to score at the weekend. I expect myself to score every game I play, and of course that's not the reality. But to touch on, I'm just obviously really happy with where Dante's at the moment. He's scoring goals and his confidence is high, and long may that continue. Just down to me to join him and get back in the goal scoring trail. But if you told me I wasn't going to have one more touch of the ball, but we were going to win MLS Cup and I was just going to be out there running around, I would take it. So. But hopefully we can do both. Hopefully we can win this weekend, win the MLS Cup, and I can pitch in with a few goals.